Now let's tell you what's happening in North Korea. But before we play out the story for you, here's a bit of advice. Don't try any of this at home or outside for that matter. Don't try it. North Korea, we know, is a country that makes headlines for bizarre or dangerous developments. A country where one man rules 25 million people. His whims are the law. He makes his subjects do irrational things. Like what? Let's let the pictures do the talking.
떨쳐갈 인민의 위대한 우리 당을 우러르며 경례를 드리는 이 시각, 우리 모두는 듭니다. 우리적인 정황 속에서도 난도 높은 여러 가지 격동작을 연방 수행하고 있는 우리의 용맹한 전투원들에게 관중들은 열광적인 박수를 보내고 있습니다. 이 당의 품속에서 살아있겨 있습니다. 우리 전투원들은 경의하는 최고사를 천하무적의 억센 힘과 용맹을 더 억세게 벼려갈 불같은 결의에 충만되어 있습니다.
You saw that. There's more. Men break through layers of bricks. One man runs in and smashes his head on them. Others have rods smashed on their bodies, followed by some hammering on their hands. Then one man smashes 2 glass bottles together, adds them to a pile of shards, and lies on them shirtless. All of this while the Supreme Leader sits and grins with his ministers. This was not an episode of North Korea's Got Talent. This was Kim Jong-un telling the world to not mess with his country. The footage we showed you was aired on the North Korean state media. They say it was a message for their enemies. North Korean soldiers have quote-unquote iron fists to protect their country. I'm sure they do. But the level of self-harm they inflicted here makes you wonder if North Korea needs enemies at all. Also, who exactly are these people? Are they super soldiers? That's what social media is calling them. They're certainly extraordinary. Some say they're enhanced fighters, that they have been genetically engineered. No, says North Korea, they're not. Their strength, the government says, was, and I'm quoting, their strength was bestowed upon them by their leader Kim Jong-un. It's hard to argue with them. The North Korean propaganda machine beats Hollywood in imagination. It says Kim Jong-un can bend time and space. So bestowing strength seems like par for the course for him. And it gets more interesting. This pain-defying display was followed by a weapons exhibition. Weapons which Kim Jong-un said were meant for quote-unquote self-defense. And that's another lie, unless we've got the definition of self-defense wrong. Let me tell you what the weapons are. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, including the Hwasong-16. It's the largest ICBM in North Korea's arsenal. Also on display was a range of military hardware, tanks, rocket launchers, armored trucks, all of which Kim insisted repeatedly were meant for self-defense. Allow me to quote from his speech. This is what Kim Jong-un says. We are not discussing war with anyone, but rather to prevent war itself and to literally increase war deterrence for the protection of national sovereignty. That's his excuse for what he's been doing. How do you perceive the statement? North Korea is banned from testing ballistic missiles by the United Nations, but it continues to flout the ban. As a result, it is heavily sanctioned. Critical supplies like food and fuel have been cut off. The US says it will relax sanctions only if North Korea gives up nuclear weapons. But Kim Jong-un won't budge. What's he trying to achieve here? What's the point of this muscle flexing when your country is starving and suffering? Well, Kim is a classic dictator. He hopes to achieve 2 things. 1, distract his country through such show of strength, distract people from economic distress and make them talk about perceived threats. And 2, he's trying to tell his critics that they're hypocrites, that they're framing North Korea as a threat while stockpiling weapons themselves. Hard to argue with that. And this was evident in his remarks. He criticized the Biden administration. He said that they're sponsoring South Korea's arms buildup. Let me quote again from what Kim said. I wonder if there's any person or state who believes in its claim that the US is not hostile to the DPRK, and if any, I'm curious to know who they are. This is rhetoric and bluster from a leader of a hermit kingdom who knows that his weapons are his only insurance policy against the West, and his people are fodder in this power game. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.